Still pressing the button, yeah. So good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:33. The first item on the agenda is the approval from the minutes from the last meeting, and hopefully everyone got an opportunity to look at those. Next item is the appointments and updates. The first item of new business is the resolution to approve the charitable gaming license for the Barron County Association of Churches. Mr. Ron, if you want to come forward. We understand what it is, but President, okay. All right, let's go. Whoever wants to represent the Barron community of churches to talk about the bingo and
Good
things that
evening.
you're trying to do.
Yes, so what we are proposing to do at the 200 East Empire site, which was formerly Ben Harbor Street Ministry, is we are proposing to do a community bingo. And the last step in the license approval, which we have already accomplished the other steps, is getting the local governing body to acknowledge that we are a 501c3, that we are in the community, and that there's no dissent against us doing it. And so, where's Linda at? Okay, so they basically can share a little bit more about the history of the Barron County Association of Churches, and then what our main mission and purpose are with the money that we'll be raising.
So I am Linda Allen. How you doing? I just come to give you guys a little background if you don't already know the history of the street ministry on Empire. So I was there when Yvonne Hester had it. So we have taken a different approach to adding some more visibility in the city. And we're trying to develop programs that's going to add more activity. So what the street ministry did then from what we're doing now, we're training young people to be self-sufficient. Ron also has a program because some of our inner city kids have never left out of the city limits. He has incorporated taking them to Notre Dame, and they actually work there in the concession stands, and they get a stipend. So what we're trying to do is actually build our young people so at the end of their lifetime, they'll come back in the city. That's our hope, that's our dream. We want to keep them here, but we want to keep something here for the youth to have something to do. And then with this here, this wouldn't be for the youth, but it's actually bringing revenue in order to help us run the programs that we're operating under right now.
Yeah, so good evening. I'm Andre Palmer. I'm the Vice President of the Ben Harbor Success Movement. And I just want to add that we're doing this to kind of, we have more of a holistic approach to what's happening as we move forward. So we're trying to touch many areas, and as President Linda said, I think our main focus and our goal is to try to touch more with families and try to do something that's more entertaining and just give people more things to do and more opportunities for every area. So we've already built partnerships with entities that have been, blessing fathers, and we're dealing with young ladies, we're dealing with all levels of youth, and so, and other organizations, and so this just adds to the layer of things that we're trying to do, and the stewardship that the executive director, Ron, is trying to cause to happen over at the Success Movement.
And I am the secretary for the Success Club, the former street ministry. A lot of the other involvements will include the camp and different things that the Ben Harbor CDC has had before, some of the seating events. Again, a lot of the adult events that happen in the community are available to happen there for free. There's no charges to utilize the building and the facilities, which includes a kitchen. a nice kitchen area as well. So again, any and everybody that asks are able to utilize it. I know we have offered, for example, one time Diane was going to use it for SFAM programming. There has been different holiday festivities that happen too. Ron has a connection with various organizations. They actually do gifting for families that are, to lack of a better word, adopted. So there's a whole gifting session that happens with that. A little bit of everything has happened at the building, and just looking to do more things. And again, this is a form of socialization too. And then it will be more than just youth. It'll also kind of pull in the elderly and things of that nature, because a lot of times that's their form of socialization. They don't want to do technology. They rather do something that's more hands-on and less, where they have to change or adapt to do something technology-wise. Charlie.
Let me add to what I have said, and the biggest thing for us is, family, bringing families together, that makes a difference. Because I know at our age, we did everything with our parents, right? So they were there. And so now we live in a day of time where there's no big mama, there's no grandmother, right? So when it comes to what we're actually doing, that's why we partner with the families, because if we can help the families and the mom and the parents, so that's just passed on. So it's not like that revolving door that they don't know what's happening. That's why we want to involve. So it's a whole family affair.
Good evening. My name is Mr. Charlie Patterson. I work for the Barron County Health Department. I have partnered up with the street ministry, the Ben Harbor Success Movement, in different areas. We had teens there, their parents there, we had cooking classes there, and we had a group with men's, young fathers and old fathers that range from age 17 to 71. We were always in a room with generations, talking about passage, talking about different things we can do for our community, where the elderly would listen to the young, and the young was giving advice to the elderly, which is very powerful. And they really enjoyed that very much, because what the youth was saying was they're not being heard. And to have the elderly hear and respond to them was great. It was a learning experience. It was passing the buck, I would say, which it was reciprocal. They was learning and giving. And I think the usage of this building is being more enhancing than just handing out, than just giving out. You are learning, you're supporting not just the children, you're supporting the community as a whole. It's covered the whole family logistics, and I think what they're trying to do now gives opportunity of adult connectedness. If our youth see adult connected with them in a positive way, they're more or less likely to be out here robbing into your house, shooting, or doing different things like that, if they're heard and they can be seen connecting with adults in a positive environment. And I think that's the route we're taking.
Good evening. I'm Christine Shireen. I'm also on the board, and I am the owner and operator of Mama Chrissy's Alteration Services. And my part in this would be using my skills to teach sewing to anybody that wants to learn. And the fact that this facility is available to anybody to utilize. I already have the sewing machine, so once we get the thing going, it's like it takes money to make money. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So what we're trying to do is become self-sufficient as the board for the organization to be able to help the community.
And so the final thing that I wanted to say with relationship to this resolution that we're asking to get passed is the first step also in a way of being validated. The state of Michigan is, when it comes to licensing different things, is not a simple process, but we feel like we've accomplished something to get to this stage. The other things that I think are key to what this bingo is going to be about. There are a lot of needs also that our populations need to be exposed to. We plan to open it up to also have opportunities for people to have tables, not like a pop-up, but as the population grows, they can come and they can be exposed to necessary services, whether it be health-related, those kind of components that Charlie was talking about. So we do have an agenda other than just the fun of bingo and the fundraising. We need a point to turn strangers into friends, and that's what we're doing.
thank you all so much, and I've been knowing Ron for a while and some of the great work that he's been doing in our community. So this is not the first time we've looked at these kinds of licenses, and so this will go to our full body. I don't know if anybody else has any comments about it.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Just from the code compliance end, Clerk Moore and I spoke, there's nothing that would prevent this. They would need to become registered with the city as a business, and then they would need an inspection with an occupancy permit. So that would be the only thing on your end you would need to do as far as code compliance.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I've known all these people for a long, long, long time, and they do great things in the community. And just to bring something in the community, especially in the inner city, is really great. And I'm glad they all formed together. I've even been to some events over the years there. So I'm all for it, and I think it's a wonderful thing. And I think if it's not passed through, it would be a bad opportunity, and it wouldn't be fair, because we prove everything else. Thank you.
Yeah, I think with this particular resolution, we've done them before. We're familiar with the community and what needs to happen in our community. So this is not something that would be overlooked or passed through or any of that. So will go before the full body on Monday, and so the full commission will be voting on this particular item. But it's a great thing in the community, so thank you. Item on the agenda is the resolution adopting an ordinance prohibiting nuisance parties. All right, Chief Clark, and
Clerk, could you switch the screen over?
So to give some kind of insight into what we're looking for, through the last couple years, we've had some pretty significant issues on the weekends and nights where crowds will mass at one gas station and drink and party there until we show up, and then we disperse that crowd, and then a few minutes later, they're going to find their way to another gas station. Several cities have dealt with this over the years, Kalamazoo being one of the closest to us, the other being South Bend. So Kalamazoo, over the last couple of years, has spent quite a bit of time working on their ordinance, and we have kind of borrowed some of their language, and we worked with the city attorney to create that, and we're going to kind of show why through this PowerPoint. So just this past weekend, we had one of these events. It started with the gathering at the Hawks, or the Hawks Nest. They were not inside, partying like they were supposed to. They were scattered. Can you go to that picture?
So there's just the two parties right there.
So there's the advertisement for both parties, okay? If you can go to the picture for the Hawks Nest first. This picture, as you can see, was early in the day. This was about 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6:30.
And that is the start of it. And our officers spent the rest of the evening until 4 o'clock in the morning basically chasing this crowd, okay? And we've had this numerous times over the years. We've had many complaints at many different stations. And so what we're asking with this ordinance is to give us some ability to declare an event like this a mobile nuisance party, and then we can start taking action with the ordinance that's presented. If you back up one, Brian. One more. We'll go through this. So when these events are happening, there is the city ordinance for open containers being blatantly violated.
It's inside liquor stores, outside liquor stores. They will go into the stores, buy their items, and then either drink them in the store or drink it out of the store. We've got video of this. We've got pictures of it. The crowds, they block the traffic. They take over the streets. We've had, the last time this party happened a year ago, they had Main Street so blocked off, we couldn't even get a fire engine to a call. And nobody cared. They didn't care that somebody else's stuff was having a problem. They wanted to have their fun, and that was the end of it. When these events happen, we've had numerous where people have been shot, to include this past weekend. There was an individual at AJ's Lounge. He was in the parking lot drinking, and he got shot in the back. AJ's did have their own security company, but it was not a licensed security company in the city or Berrien County. And they are being investigated at a minimum by us because they tased one person, and we don't know the story behind that. And they were also using a mace that is not suitable for human consumption. They were actually using bear mace, legitimate, honest bear mace. And that's not legal to spray on humans. So this security company, we're investigating them. We'll be sending that to the prosecutor as well. After the shots fired and the fireworks and shots, and the person was shot in the parking lot, AJ's was told to shut the party down, and the party planner was told to shut the party down, and he refused, made some comments that our officer was only shutting the party down because it was a racist thing, we were being racist, and wanted to continue to go. And we'll show pictures here in a little bit of the utter chaos. The last time we saw crowds like this at AJ's and A&D's was the Memorial Day, where 6 people were shot and 1 man lost his life. And then it ended when one of our officers almost got run over and was fired upon a car. That was finally the end of it that night. We've already seen advertisements for parties for this coming weekend that are going to, some of them are being put on by the same group, some of them are in the township, some of them are in the city. So what we're asking is that we have nothing against people having a good time, but do it safely, do it properly. And it has been exhibited time and time again that these mobile parties cannot. While we had ours, South Bend also had a problem with theirs. They had 4 people shot in their parties. Okay, and again, different city, different state, same scenario. Okay, go ahead, Ryan. So this is the promoter's video for the Hawks Head and AJ's event, and some of the video from the city where they're clearly and happily and blatantly thumbing the nose at open container laws and the rest of our ordinances. Continue on. This was the Hawks Head, or Hawks Nest, at the end of the day when it was supposed to close down so everybody could go to AJ's, but they didn't want to leave the parking lot, so we ended up having to bring in other agencies to help us clear this out just to get this event moving. This is about an hour into AJ's and A&D's. And as you can see, they had the parking lot completely full all the way back to the other building there, and people all over. And they were navigating, going across the street, buying liquor in the store, taking it back to the party, or just consuming it outside. The store itself was allowing this. And again, they've been investigated by the LCC for this. They were fined before, but the problem is that the LCC is very slow to respond to events like this. And it's very frustrating. So at one point, there was a fight during this event between several individuals as our officers went to go break it up. One of our officers got jumped by 5 more individuals in the crowd. So as you can see, This is not fun, this is not safe, this is chaos. This is borderline, based on what our ordinances are currently, this is borderline civil unrest. And we don't want to call it that. We'd like to create this new ordinance, give us the ability to cite not only the party goers if need be, but the businesses that facilitate this. Okay? Yeah. So, part of this ordinance is once it's designated a mobile nuisance party, for instance, A&Ds, if they want to, they are blatantly serving this and they're supporting this. And they're not doing anything to stop this. They're not shutting down. They're not closing down their business. They're not following the laws of the city or the state. They're just concerned about making the dollar. So. This is the fight that the promoters later put on their page as these individuals were mad at Trump for bombing Iran. Now you can see the group that's right there, our officers are going to intervene, and then once the officer intervenes, he ends up getting several on him before more people started coming in and separating it. This also, same night, 310 East Main, 300 Territorial, so the gas station and what used to be the Fish Hut, I think it's now Larry's liquor store. Again, they're selling open containers, people consuming in their property, and it is, according to ordinance, the business owner's responsibility to ensure that their people on their property are following the rules. Okay, so sometimes they'll turn off their lights, but they won't stop selling. They won't stop doing anything. So that's, if you remember a few years ago, we looked at maybe trying to change the ordinance on their business hours. This is a problem again, and we're already starting to see that it's going to look like this weekend, being a holiday weekend, among other things, and adding on extra staff. The township is adding on extra staff. So that's why we're looking for this ordinance.
If I might, Madam Chairman.
Wow. So I completely understand because they do it at May Street. Same thing. They turn the lights off, cars everywhere. So would you just walk through just the ordinance, reading through the ordinance?
So I'll start with the very top. The resolution to adopt an ordinance prohibiting nuisance parties in the city limits of Benton Harbor, Michigan for the purpose of securing and promoting public health, safety, comfort, welfare, peace, and quiet for the inhabitants of the city. We ask that it be created its own chapter, its own specific chapter in the ordinance, 25.5. The justification, we've reviewed issues over the last several years with large social gatherings or parties that have forced a strong response from the City of Benton Harbor's Department of Public Safety and prompted involvement from other neighboring law enforcement agencies, including the Bryan County Sheriff's, Michigan State Police, and others. The city has determined that these gatherings and parties are a nuisance to the community at large, and they pose a threat to public safety, health, and welfare of the general public, as evidenced by multiple shootings, fights, assaults on law enforcement, unlawful consumption of alcohol and marijuana in public areas, blocking access to public streets, sidewalks, noise, and related issues, which has also been documented by law enforcement. There's the only financial impact is the cost of publication. So the resolution is to adopt an ordinance prohibiting nuisance parties in the city limits of Benton Harbor, Michigan, for the purpose of securing and promoting the public health, safety, and comfort and welfare and the peace and quiet of the inhabitants of the city. Whereas the Benton Harbor City Commission has reviewed issues over the last several years with large social gatherings or parties that have forced a strong response from the City of Benton Harbor's Department of Public Safety and prompted involvement from other neighboring jurisdictions or agencies, including the Berrien County Sheriff's Department and State Police. The city has determined that these gatherings and parties are a nuisance to the community at large, and they pose a threat to public safety, health, and welfare of the general public, as evidenced by multiple shootings, fights, assaults on law enforcement, unlawful consumption of alcohol and marijuana in public areas, blocking access to public streets and sidewalks, noise, and related issues which have been documented by law enforcement. Now therefore, it is resolved that the Benton Harbor City Commission the following ordinance to be approved by the City Commission. Chapter 25.5, nuisance parties. Section 1, definition, a nuisance party shall be defined as follows. A social gathering or a party where a static or mobile, whether static or mobile, conducted on any public or private property within the city, and which, by reason of conduct of those persons in attendance, results in any one or more of the following conditions or events occurring on public or private property: the unlawful sale, furnishing, possession, or consumption of alcoholic beverages, urination, defecation on neighboring public or private property, or the premises in view of another person, unlawful deposit of trash or litter, destruction of property, unlawful vehicular traffic, or the unlawful standing, stopping, or parking of vehicles, obstructing the free flow of traffic, or interference with the ability to render emergency services, unlawful parking of vehicles within the public streets, alleys, or sidewalks upon public private property, unreasonably loud noise under the circumstances which disturbs the comfort, quiet, or repose of one or more members of the neighborhood, conduct or a condition which injures any person, conduct or a condition which endangers the safety of persons or property in the neighborhood, conduct or a condition which results in the indecent exposure of a person or the display of graphic sexual behavior, whether real or simulated, to a member of the public not attending the social gathering or party. And then lastly, unlawful sale, furnishing, or manufacture, or use, or possession of a controlled substance as defined by federal or state law. Section 2, nuisance parties prohibited. Any owner, occupant, tenant, or guest, or person otherwise having any possessory control, individually or jointly, of any personal or real property, who either sponsors, conducts, hosts, invites, or permits a social gathering or party, which is or during the course thereof becomes a nuisance party, which is either the intentional result of or within the reasonable expectations of the person or persons having such a possessory control, is hereby deemed to have committed a violation of this ordinance. In any prosecution for a violation of this section or sections prohibiting persons from attending nuisance parties, proof of specific intent shall not be required as a necessary element, but proof of general criminal intent shall be a necessary element. Section 3, persons in attendance at a nuisance party. Any person who is in attendance at a nuisance party, whether or not the person has any possessory control over the personal or real property, shall be deemed to have committed a violation of this ordinance. Penalties and violations. The violation of this ordinance is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 90 days in jail and/or a maximum fine of $500. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage and publication as required by law. Section 6, if any part or provision of this ordinance is declared invalid or unenforceable, such a declaration shall not affect the validity or enforceability of the remaining parts of this ordinance. Section 7, any prior ordinances or regulations that are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed only to the extent of such inconsistency.
Thank you, Director. Now, what I was just looking at, I don't see any numbers for size, so I'm reading that. So does the police determine whether it is a public nuisance? Where does the determination, does it come from people calling the police? I know that was an obvious, public nuisance, but at what point, who decides that it becomes a public nuisance? Is there a certain a number, or if somebody starts fighting, if people are having something at their house, like, at what point does it become a public nuisance? I see the shooting, is it a certain size?
So, working off of this ordinance, it would be up to the shift supervisor to notify myself or Deputy Director Kazmierzak or the director himself, and then we would confer and then go from there. If the party's in the streets, for instance, there's a shooting, we're not going to put a specific number of people to it because I don't have somebody out there with the clicker, right? But if the party's in the streets, or like the pictures show where we're blocking traffic, we'll deem that a nuisance party. But it's not just going to be every party's a nuisance party. If somebody is having something at their house and the neighbor calls and we go and they turn it off and they cooperate, that's it.
Thank you.
Of course, these are the topics that nobody wants to touch, but I've been trying to ever since I came down here. And it's very disheartening because there's a generation behind us that is just totally out of control. Gosh, every bit of 20 years now, listening to them, we don't have anything to do. And here we are. As previous legislative chair, I tried to shut these type of establishments down, knowing that this was what they do in our predominantly communities of color, because the state allows alcohol, and for us to have on every corner. It's disturbing to me because what I'm hearing is another phase that we've tried to shut down the pipeline to prison. I was listening to Officer Clark, and I'm thinking about to sitting on ALPAC, trying to bridge the gap between public safety and the community. And I hate that I stopped, but life, so many different things, and only one person can only do so much. To actually step up and get together with these that like to give the parties and stuff and see what we can do. I mean, like, come together and talk and find ways to make things work because they want to have fun, but they're just out of control. It has gotten out of control, and we have allowed it to get out of control. We have to take some of the ownership in this for not putting money where it needs to be in our community. And I'm still hoping that we can actually do something like that. The officers get together, you know who these young men are that's putting the posters out, and we can plan a meeting together of the minds to say, well, we will allow this, but you have to adhere to this. I mean, has that even happened? I just love to find solutions instead of everything having to end up to St. Joe Jail or the hospital or prison or taxing the residents to death.
Commissioner Adams, so looking at that party, I know the young
They out
gentleman.
of control,
I know,
period.
I'm just gonna say. So, what do you expect? Hold on. So, what do you expect?
I make no excuses for them, period.
Right, because we're here to because you have residents who live here. They're making a conscious choice to do
Yes,
those things.
yes,
Nobody's
yes.
making them do any of that.
Look, we already know
We
that.
know that. So we're
Know
here to
that.
address. To
The
come up with
issue
the
at
solutions.
hand,
We have
yes.
taxpayers who bringing up these
Okay.
offices who they trying to protect as well. And people
Exactly.
should be
And
able to go
bullets have no
someplace
names on
and
them.
not get a hot bullet.
A bully can go through a
So
wall.
nobody's putting those guns in their hands but themselves. Commissioner Warren.
Madam Chairperson.
So I actually was coming from the beach, probably about 9 o'clock. And unfortunately for me, I was sitting on Main Street trying to get home. It was a mess. It was a complete mess.
Yeah.
And the news reporters were reporting the wrong information. Everyone in the town thought something happened that didn't happen. The whole thing was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with having a party. I've been young before. I wanted to have fun. But why can't you go inside the building, have your fun,
Yeah.
and when it's over, go home? Nobody's saying, oh, if you're young, you can't have fun. Nobody up here is saying that.
And neither am I. Neither am I. I'm
But
just saying that
it's a
at
way
some
to
point.
conduct yourself, and it starts right here. It starts with us teaching them.
Ex-
Standing outside, whatever they doing, it's just ridiculous, and it's unacceptable, and I think we need this.
I got the party started.
As a citizen that lives here, seeing those pictures, it is disturbing because we do know what happens when he had these certain incidents in these parties. And I don't see anything wrong with putting an ordinance on the book to make it a law. Just not saying, I want them to stop, or you want them to stop, but it's the law, the city saying that's an ordinance. You just have to stop. Yeah, you do want to have fun, but it's a difference between good fun and dangerous fun. And so, for me, I don't see anything wrong with this ordinance because, as you see, they make the flyers, lots of money go into making these flyers and everything else. And so if you want to truly party and you get caught on it, I don't see a reason you won't pay to party. That's my approach to it, I think.
I do graphic design, but it's nothing to get on the computer and
Chief,
put
did you
together a
have
flyer.
something that you wanted to
But
say?
if I may, Madam
I
Chair,
have something I'd
The
like
city
to
manager
say.
has something to say.
As your city manager, I'd like to strongly recommend that you move this ordinance forward and pass it. These situations are dangerous. One bullet, one knife, somebody's daughter, somebody's son, mother, father, not here anymore. We don't need this nonsense. All of these people are not even residents. They're coming from probably a 50-mile radius all the way around, Kalamazoo, South Bend. A lot of them have been run off the beach over in St. Joe already. We don't need this. This is just a crisis waiting to happen.
Then we have a different kind of communication with the city. Then we trying to put out a press conference about, a press release about something terrible that has happened and why Benton Harbor didn't do this and why.
Madam
Right
Chair,
now,
did
we're getting
somebody
ready to
take
do
what I
something.
said out of context?
No, I'm just saying, that's what we're getting ready to do. So Commissioner,
But
unless you have another question
Well, I
about this
do.
particular
I do.
ordinance,
I
we need to
do.
move forward. Go
I do,
ahead.
because there's a Newton's ordinance already on the books.
We're up, not this
Well,
time.
I know, and this is going to move forward, and it needs to. That was not a dispute of any sort, because it is unacceptable. But I'm just hoping that moving forward, that we would start thinking outside of the box and ordinances and things, and thinking about what we can do moving forward, that's all. To find some solutions, because they're going to challenge us.
Yeah, like like Ron, that's one of the
Exactly.
solutions that Mr. King is doing with the organization.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
there are community organizations that'll help, some stuff the city just can't do, and that's one of them. And
Yeah.
there's other organizations to do that, community
Agreed.
organizations.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I don't really know what Detective McGinnis and Clark have said to the guys who own AJ's, but there were several people that came down here looking for you two to get your permission, because AJ's is telling them that they have to come talk to you. So I feel like the police are trying to make some type of way to communicate with these party promoters. And I witnessed it. 2 people came down here looking to speak to them about it. So some type of way, they're getting it out that you need to come and talk to them about the parties. Now, once they talk to y'all, we see what they do afterwards. But I did witness that the police are, saying that you got to reach out to them.
So we are in, unless there's any, okay, we're gonna move this forward.
I just want to say, I'm always talking about the human infrastructure of this. And when I hear criminal charges, and when I look at the Just look at the statistics. 18 to 38-year-olds. It's the biggest population in Ben Harbor. Where do they have to go? Is there an outlet for them? We had an outlet growing up. You guys, you're younger than me, you had an outlet growing up. Somewhere to go, somewhere to do, something to do positive. Yeah, I'm like Commissioner Adams. We dropped the ball. We allowed this to happen. We actually talked about this 10 years ago when they were out, when our people were out at the restaurant to stay open all night. They shut that one down too. 2 or 3 restaurants where they participated and their culture showed out. Now that's just the culture. We have allowed our people to be who they are right now. May it be gun toting, booty shaking, whatever it is that's going on. 'Cause I don't know. When I saw that, I thought, my God. But we allowed that. And there's some social issues that need to be resolved. And I personally don't want to involve a criminal record. Now, if the owners know the rules and they don't cooperate or make sure that the rules are followed, I think we should go after them. If you're walking around with a gun, you got to go to jail or somebody's got to talk to you. But social, now you guys come on, remember, we got an area over here downtown called Social District. They walk around drinking and smoking all the time. Right here, in our neighborhood, right downtown. We have to find a way to solve the problem. And going to jail is not solving the problem. Going to Berrien County Courthouse will not solve this problem. It would only create more stress for my people. So get the head and stop them from doing the dumb stuff. Put some energy into giving our kids something positive to do. I don't hear this conversation when Jean Clark Park is full of people at 12 and 1 o'clock at night. I don't hear nothing about that, but it happens. So now, if we don't put some compassion into our own people, with everything that's happening from the federal government down, Ben Harbor is a small community. We can do things on a small scale, little at a time, to help our people. But you got to do it. You can't just say, send them to Berrien County, because we already know it's about money, and jail time, and more money. I would hate to be one of those young people that got caught up going to a party and just having fun and get arrested. So if we don't put some love and some compassion in the Christ-like, well, how would Christ handle it? We got to do something better other than sending people to Berrien County Courthouse and the jail. And that's on us. The police only do their job, to police. They don't have any compassion. Never have. Never have. Look at the history. Never have. Now, our Ben Harbor Police Department is a good police department. I don't trust too many police, but we have a good police department. But they still in their own realm. And if we, as elected officials, don't put the compassion in it, we're gonna get that line to prison. Everybody knows that it's there. We gotta do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henry.
If I
I was gonna say, these parties that they were given was an opportunity for the youth to have fun. But I'll also say this, a year ago, there was a young woman whose son, where the shooting that they just discussed, he was going to the store, he took a bullet to the head and didn't make it to one of those fun parties that these kids had. And I knew her and I knew him. He was a wonderful young man. He didn't make it out of one of those nice scenarios. He didn't have a gun, he was showing up. In fact, he was going to the store. He wasn't even at the doggone party. So people are choosing, and it's a handful of folks, and I agree with this, and we're going to move it forward. People need to get their young people and make sure that they're not doing this. I had a conversation last week with a 17-year-old. He told me, he said, Miss Henderson, I got to carry a gun for blah, blah, blah reasons. I believe him. I believe him. But at the same time, I said, do you know anybody that can get you out of town? I said, you don't need to be here. Explain to him. He's still saying he going to be here because his boy's here. So people and young people are making conscious decisions to do these or just resigning themselves to what's going to happen. That doesn't. I'm trying to connect. Was trying to connect him with everybody. Picked up the phone call and made a phone call to somebody that I know they would have connected with him. So some of these young people are making a conscious decision, putting everybody's life at risk for their bad choices. And we're going to move this ordinance forward. And the commission is going to vote for it. The people in this community deserve better. They don't deserve to be laying in their bed and a bullet come through their wall, which has happened several times. Our people deserve better than that. And like you said, we have a responsibility to everybody in this community, not just a few.
I agree with you. Don't give us trouble. My name is, excuse me, I don't mind speaking. My name is Angela Berry. I was sitting in my car one time, and there was some guys, they came just shooting. Like it was the Wild Wild West, you know. Next thing you know, you hear the ambulance coming. I'm nervous to sit in my car now, because these young people got guns like it ain't like trees outside. For one, where's the parents at? Some of them too old. The one that's having a party, he's responsible. What is going on with him? What is being done with him? I'm looking at the way they doing them police officers, jumping on a police officer. They got families too. They got homes too. They got children too. It done went way too far. Ain't no pity party for somebody who want to party. Just party and don't care about nobody. Get real. It done went way too far. If they go to jail, they go to jail because they chose to. They chose to pick that gun up. They chose to plan that party. They chose to get them pictures out there for the 4th of July. Now let's see what happened. Ain't no pity parties. We dealing with grown people who done been to jail. Oh, it ain't no thing. I'm gonna get out. What about all the young people that's gone and dead? All the people who was just walking to the store. What about them? What about the officers who was not doing anything, just doing their job? But this heathen, I'm telling you, this heathen comes along. This thug comes along and takes this man's life. Now they don't have babies don't have a mother. They don't have a father anymore. Ain't no pity parties for him. And not with me, it's not. It's really not. Pass everything you can. Because they already telling you, oh, we're going to do this 4th of July. I'll be ready for them. If I was on the police, I'll be ready for them.
Yes, I just wanted to say that she said it pretty well for us, really. Because it's unfair to the average citizen, people in their homes who are worried about bullets coming through the walls. It's unfair to our police officers. What is a small force of police officers going to do when you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 800 people swarming around like bees doing whatever they want to do, and you don't know who's going to pull something out and shoot or knife you or whatever? It's not fair to the city. It's not happening in St. Joe. Benton Township sometimes, St. Joe Township, we shouldn't allow it either. We need to put a stop to it.
Well, I'll support this moving forward to the full board. Item on the agenda is the resolution approving the purchase of properties. Is that still part of that? Number 3, I'm sorry, resolution amending Chapter 21. Section 48, license of the code ordinances.
This is, what we're asking on this is to amend Chapter 21, Section 48, that requires businesses that sell alcohol to physically secure away their alcohol when the hours of sale are up. Much like Myers puts up the gate and you can't get to it at all, the same thing here. They physically put a barrier to all their alcohol at whenever the prescribed time is, and that it is locked up and secure.
So I just have a question. So that wasn't left up to individual businesses? It was something that is I know we're making it an ordinance. Is that a state law? Is it something that they should secure alcohol after the time of sale?
We're making it a city ordinance and requirement so that people don't just continue to, most people by that time, if they're out there, they're already well on their way. They don't need any more. And that's what unfortunately is happening.
Commissioner, what we saw even after closing the other night was cash sales taking place. So that's one of the reasons behind this. We closed the one liquor store down, and they were passing cash in and out through the gate. So that's what this kind of goes back down to as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just want to know is this ordinance going to go after the store owners? I mean, they've been doing things for years, and when they get a slap on the wrist and a $50 fine or a $500 fine, that's nothing. They pay it and continue their business. So where, I see you have compassion for them, but you're not gonna have compassion for my residents. And I wanna know, what is gonna be to stop them from doing what they do? Are you saying they're allowing them to drink in the store? Some things, he did say that. He said they were allowing them to consume liquor in the store. So these people, greedy people, need to be held accountable. If you go after the head, the body will follow. So if you go after the party givers and the store owners, the body will follow. And then go back to the compassion part, that you find something positive. They call them heathens. And I won't call my people heathens. But they are, because of our neglect, they are acting out. It has been our neglect. Well, cause you won't say that, and I'm speaking, and I'm not gonna have you talk over me like you do everybody else. You won't do that with me, cause I don't need a conversation with you. Thank you. So I'm asking us to have some compassion when it comes to our people, and go after the head.
Commissioner, there will be 5 liquor license violations coming to the full commission for a hearing. The only way we can violate a liquor license, and the LCC, is this is the way they recommend we do it, is for the full commission to violate that liquor license. So it will have to go in front of the commission for a hearing. The LCC can do it, but they're just going to fine them. They said if the city violates it, then they will take action. So there'll be 5 businesses notified of their violation. The city attorney's getting those letters out this week.
That's a solution. I like part of that. So the solution and the compassion, they run together, especially for us, because we've gone through a lot in our stay here in America. And it's not all our fault that these things are going on. Some of it is planned. And if you know your history, you'll know. So that's why I'm asking for some compassion with some of this with our people. Go after their head. And the body will follow.
Thank you. I propose that we move this one to the full commission. All right, last item, resolution approving the purchase of properties from Barron County tax sales. City manager.
Madam Chairman, this is a process that we've been doing for the last several years, and we are, while we're doing this, we've also been working on preparing a plan to make use of these to benefit the city by getting new homes built that will accomplish a lot of our prime objectives. That is increasing our population, increasing our housing stock, and increasing our tax base. And in the process, we increase workers for the businesses that need them and the ability to start to rebuild our community. What we do when we receive, first off, just for a little background, when I came here back in '84, in that period that I was here until I left, these properties were coming from DNR directly to the city. The county wasn't involved. What we did when we got them really contributed to our problem, because at that time, what was happening, the commissions wanted to deal with properties like they were Christmas gifts. They selling to people for $20, $50, give them to them, and nobody did anything with them. I mean, everybody came in with a song and dance. They're gonna build a house. They're gonna build a building or whatever. Nobody built anything. They sat and they got worse and just added to the list of vacant properties that we have all over the city now. What we're attempting to do is, when they do these tax foreclosure sales, they go through a process first where we as a city request a list, because we have a right of first refusal on purchasing these properties. But when we exercise that right, we have to pay all of the outstanding taxes to all other jurisdictions except the city. And so as a consequence, and because of the money involved in that we don't have it, we select only those that have a key focus for us. Like in this particular case, we've got 2 properties directly across from June Woods Park, Broadway Park, on that corner there. We want to get those properties, and I want to immediately turn them into parking lots, because we're trying to keep people from driving cars into our parks and so forth, but we really don't, in some instances, have places for them to park. And this will help to address that problem. It's a one-time kind of opportunity to be fortunate enough to find 2 of them right together, right on the corner, directly across from the park. We went through every property on the list, looked at them on Beacon to see where they're positioned and that kind of thing. If I saw a property on this list that's sitting between two properties the city already owns, and especially if there are also other vacant lots that maybe we don't own, but they're vacant right next to them, those were a prime target for us to try to get that property, because we can then utilize that to encourage somebody to come in and build and possibly put some kind of incentive package together to get them to do it. If we found a property that was on a corner where the property around it was pretty decent, that's an opportunity, a prime one, to get someone to build on it and so forth. Now, one thing that has happened in recent years that changes this, because when I started, I was looking at, I believe, 13 properties. But as a result of some court actions that were taken in the last few years, the county used to sell them for whatever they could get, and extra money, they would use them to do demolitions and that kind of thing. They were taken to court, and the court decided that in instances where people owed a small amount of taxes and the sale, what was received from the sale was disproportionate to what was owed, that prior property owner had a right to get that money. So many people have begun to go to court to establish a claim, and when they do that, the price goes up. A couple of them that we were looking at that were on here where the unpaid taxes and the cost to us would have been $650 each. Next day, the people went into court, filed a claim. Suddenly, they went to $40,000. We took them off the list because that's not in our. So, in any event, that's what has transpired. But what I want to point out is that the city has been losing all around on this whole process. I shared with you a draft of a letter that I'm sending to the county treasurer. Let me back up a moment and say the process first is we get that list before they go for the first sale. The first sale is an auction. People bid on it, and I believe their bid has to include the taxes that are owed on it, plus. Anything that does not sell in that auction, what has been occurring is they go into sort of a fire sale, a second auction, where people can get them for $50, $100, and the same result occurs that we had years ago when we were giving the properties away. Nobody's doing anything with them. And I've heard people say, the city, when we're taking on the properties, that's just extra expense because we're cutting them anyway. And we're gonna cut all of these that go into the fire sale. But what's worse is that when they go into that last auction, that fire sale, there's more going on than meets the eye. First item that occurs, all of the unpaid taxes not collected gets charged back to the city. I saw about 4 weeks ago a $29 charge, a $29,000 chargeback to the city on those properties. In addition to that, that sale washes out all of the liens and accounts that have been placed on that. The city loses if we cut grass and done other clean up property and stuff, and we put it on the taxes, it gets wiped out. We don't collect it. Water bills, wiped out, don't get collected. People haven't paid sewer and trash bills, wiped out, they don't get collected. That $29,000 was a direct charge back, but I'm here to guarantee you that the total cost on that probably was $50,000, $60,000 to the city when all those other things got wiped out. So I'm going to be asking, and I've already asked verbally and want to confirm it with a letter, that the county treasurer stop having that second fire sale. Just turn the properties over to us and let us handle them, and we will deal with getting them disposed of by using them as a part of the overall assembly that we're doing. And if we've got to maintain them for a while, it's no worse than what we're doing already.
No, I can wait. Thank you, Madam Chair. My question would be to Mr. Little, first of all, are any structures on any of these?
No, these are all vacant.
Oh, prop, okay.
Those two that, the price went up on them because they had structures on them.
Oh, the one that we discussed earlier? Okay. So my question becomes, how many of those that, I think I did it for like 2 or 3 years, as co-chair of economic development, kept those properties from going to the auction so that we could rehab them, get some of our youth or young people some skills in construction, and put these homes on the market to add to our tax base. Has any of that happened? Because this is like, we're like 8 years in now. Has one of them been rehabbed and put back on the market?
I'm sorry, question.
Has any of the houses, I think altogether there may have been like probably 13 that Pro Tem Seats and myself kept from going to the auction. And I just wanted to know, had any of those been rehabbed? Any training established? Any of those homes went back on the market for sale to add to the tax base?
We only have, to my knowledge, 3 that had houses that we've acquired. One of which was the
717
Right,
Colfax?
and that was, Dr. Butts had acquired it. He was going to rehab it and live in it. I spoke to him yesterday morning, what was going on to his new job, and he's talked with a couple of people that are interested in buying it. We had a right of first refusal on that to buy it back for what he paid into it, which is about $13,000. But since our primary objective is to get the house back into use and back on the tax rolls, he's talking to a couple of people that want to live in the house and want to rehab it. And I indicated to him that we would support that.
I'm sorry, through the chair, Mr. Butts himself is going to do some,
No, he's going to sell it to somebody that wants to live in it and rehab it.
whoa. I'm aware of that, but during the initial conversation was that if he did not utilize it for the purpose intended, that it reverted back to the city. Is that what's happening?
It will revert back and we have to pay him what he's put into it. He's put $13,000 in it. And
Into doing what?
that's what he bought it for. That's what he paid us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never saw
And I
it.
know the issues that we're having even with this. In
Okay,
terms of
thank
money
you.
that we weren't.
Thank you.
So anyway, I wanted to go on, when I passed these out, I had these done up just as an example of something that will be a part of the plan for trying to get these done. Another piece that I'm working on for this and is a table of the incentives. There are several tax incentives available to the state, one specifically for multifamily houses. We are in a opportunity zone, but that wouldn't impact an individual homeowner, but it would developers. But I want to get a list of those incentives and put in, and do this kind of marketing to individuals, people who would be small developers. And when I say that, Mr. Reed and I have often talked about the fact that there are people that we know that live in the city that have money, but might be interested in buying into perhaps building a fourplex, live in one part of it, rent out the other 3, and let them pay for the building. We went all the way around because getting a new building on the tax rolls is a plus for us, and possibly new tenants also. So But like any economic development program, it takes a while to do it. When I came back to the city shortly afterward, we started working on Ox Creek. And we're still working on Ox Creek. And this October, you'll start to see a lot of cleanup taking place down through there where we'll be running equipment in and getting all the stuff out. Then the cleanup and the water and all of that will take place. But that's been going on for years to get there. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't realize it, but I first envisioned Ox Creek back in 1985 when I took the bridge out that was blocking the pawpaw down there and then bought the 5.7 miles of abandoned railroad for the city from Conrail. Economic development takes a while. With us in this housing program, while we've been collecting and assembling properties to use to try and help build these, we also got a master plan done. Behind the master plan, one of the things that we needed to do was to rewrite our zoning ordinance. They're just sending to you, the commission, the zoning ordinance for your review and the 60-day period of review. There are significant changes in those zoning ordinances that will help make housing development more doable here in the city. And that's one of the things that'll be important for us. Also, we've been talking with Michigan Municipal League and the Pattern Homes Project and looking to see if we can put together a small catalog of pre-approved homes that can be where they can purchase the entire set of construction plans. And since they've already been reviewed and approved by our inspection people and everybody else, any person can buy the package for a single home, duplex, tri, or quad, and get the property to put it on and just put it up. And we can assist by doing whatever we can in terms of helping them with that location, including perhaps putting city property in to help get them to do it. So that's a part of the overall plan for doing this. It's easier to get larger developers to start moving than it is individuals, but we want this to work to move individuals and so forth and to buying and building homes in the city.
Thank you, Chair. Well, let me, through the chair, ask, over the couple years now, we've bought a lot of property. And we've had a moratorium still on where we're not selling even the tiny lots next to residents' houses. We're just not selling them now because of the moratorium. So I want to ask, the first question I want to ask is, where's the $12,000 coming from? The last time we bought property, it was $7,000, and I asked that question, and it really never got answered. But this is $12,000, and I would like to see if I can get an answer for that. Where's that money coming from with the report we just had from finance? Where's that money coming from? Thank you.
The report the money will come from the general fund budget, just as it did the prior years when we did this. As I pointed out before, the budget you just passed isn't that different from the budget for the previous year. But we, in the previous year, handled all kinds of unbudgeted items that came up, as we're going to have to do this year. Things for the water plant and the system, things that are associated, for example, when I started seeing bills last year for Boardman, because I'd never been involved before I took over this job in that water situation. I didn't even know who Boardman was, but they were coming in for thousands of dollars, and we handled them within the budget. We have other funds that are not budgeted that will be coming in this year. We didn't include them because they weren't in hand yet. We'll also have a lot of other expenses that are going to be incorporated this year besides this and much larger than this that are not budgeted that we will have to deal with. And in the process, as the additional revenues, as these unexpected expenses come in, we will do what's necessary. If we have to modify the budget, we'll do it.
Chair, I've been sitting here as a commissioner for a long time, and I've seen a lot of budgets. And I've seen every year, Ben Harbor has always been behind the bucket. We were always low in money for this and that. Now, our financial director tells us we don't have money right now. City manager said it. The budget said it. There's red hyphens around everything that says this line item is out. It's already spent. It's overspent. And so I understand the economic development of a project like what Mr. Little wants to do. I really do. And he's on the right track that we should create new residents. But I keep hearing them say, well, we need to pull money from this here to go to the general fund. That is not making quite enough sense to me that we keep getting money from one fund to put it to the general fund. Now, that's way smarter than what we used to do. We used to get a bond and be hurting trying to pay that bond back. So we're doing something a little bit different now by having an extra revenue that we can pull from. But how long can we do that? That's my question. How long can we do that?
If I might respond.
I don't want the long story, please.
The short story is until you don't have to do that anymore. You've been doing it now ever since the water operation was severed from the city, and you went from 8 million gallons a day pumping to 1 million. And you will have to continue to do that until you come out from under that. But in the meantime, you also still need to grow your city and grow your tax base and try to improve things.
Well, I'm always looking for solutions. But this seems like a spiral thing, that it just be going down, down, down. There's not money, but we keep spending money. It's just something just not clicking for me. And then I'm hearing favors. We did a favor to Superintendent Butt to give him a house. Now, is he going to make a profit on the house?
No, that's not what you're saying. He's going to, he only put 13,000 in. So I think there's other people who show interest in wanting to purchase it, for that same amount so that they can redo the house like he was going to do. So he's not looking to make a profit, he's just looking to get back what he put into it.
Okay. And
For that amount, and so that they can repurchase the house.
now, does that mean that they have to go through the process because we passed a resolution that said that we're not letting anybody just buy property and not do what they said they were going to do? So is that going to be the same?
It'll revert back to us, if that person that he's selling to will not.
And if we want to, he's ready to sell it back to us right now. That's what the agreement said, was that we had a right of first refusal. He's more than willing, if we got 13,000 to give him, he'll take it tomorrow. I spoke to him yesterday morning about it.
And that makes sense. But the question is, where are we going to get 13,000 like we were? We going to get the 12,000? And where are we going to get any other money that we need? And we're close to $1 million going down in the water plant. See, this is not making sense to me. The numbers don't lie. I hate to say it, but people do. But numbers don't lie. And we just keep going after this general fund, and begging from another source. I mean, if this project was going to happen immediately, we had land and it's already ready to be developed, and Mr. Little been looking at developers for years. He's been talking about this for 2 years that I know of. So my question is, how soon can we get this going to bring in the revenue that we need? But if we keep doing things like buying lots from the general fund, I'm just afraid that the money is not gonna always be there. So, if Superintendent Butts finds a person that wants to develop the home and live in it, or whatever they want to do, rent it, or whatever they want to do, I'm okay as long as they go along with our rules, the city's rules.
That's a requirement. That's what's written into the agreement.
Because we only gave it to Superintendent Butts because he was Superintendent Butts. Now, if you go back to the conversation during that time, there was a resident that wanted that. So, if it looks like a duck and quack like a duck, it's probably a duck. So we need to make sure that we have Mr. Little to be accountable, and that the city is 110% improved behind it. So I don't know how long he's gonna take this land development thing to happen, but it needs to happen soon, because the budget needs to be looked at already. After asking for 800,000 from the, was that the last amount? 800,000. 750,000, 450,000. You gotta make sense. Timeline, everything, it needs to make sense, but numbers is not looking good. And I didn't see 12,000. I didn't see any property money in the budget. I didn't see where there's a line item for purchasing more property. Now, maybe we need to create one, but the budget didn't show me that. And I didn't get to look at it but for 5 or 6 days before we had to vote on it. So,
Thank you. So on Superintendent Butts, the property that was voted on for his purchase and development, is there a buyer?
He called me yesterday morning and we talked. He said, our agreement required that I get back in touch with you all and offer it back to the city at the same that I put into it, that I paid for it. He said, I'm willing to do that. He says, but I also have 2 people that are prepared to buy it and rehab it and live in it. He says, he tell me what the city's preference is. And I said to him, I'm going to check. I suspect that we would probably be more pleased to have somebody go ahead and rehab it and live in it, but I'll double check and get back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think that was the whole purpose. It was not personal to Dr. Butts. It was to get it back on the tax roll and have it as a homestead and increase our residency. So that's something, Madam Chair, that I think that would be a win for the city and the purpose of us doing what we did. I do have a couple questions about the lots on Broadway, which we know that there is not currently parking for June Woods Park. If we were to bite down on the bullet, those 2 properties
I can see, because we will be having them for public use, which would allow for our residents to have public parking, free parking, to be able to utilize the park. And I think it would beautify that corner and area. So that's something that I think that we should seriously consider. There are, I believe, this lot on Fair, 216 Fair, and the property on East High. Is that the property where we had the event for Ernie Hudson?
I believe it may be it.
I mean, it would be really good if you knew, because that's the, we're really, we're pinching pennies. And if that be the case, because that property on Fair, right across from Bus Projects, which is about to be renovated through the RAD, up to probably about 28 million. And with Fair becoming a two-way street and development coming, I think that it would be advantageous for the city to purchase that property, where we could, I think, interact with developers to actually put, that's enough acreage and that corner, right from the funeral home, where something positive can go there, as opposed to somebody just grabbing that property in an auction and just sitting on it. So if that is
And that's the kind of thinking applied on all of them that we
right, but I mean,
did there.
I don't know that we can spend $12,000, and that's what I'm saying. If you knew, but the property, the potential parking lots for June Woods Park, and that particular parcel for Fair, if that's it, I can see if you brought a plan or brought something that possibly for that parcel. But I mean, 891 Wasita, that's why I asked, for pictures. And I know this is just in the early committee stage, but if this is going to be coming to the council, then, we should have photographs and pictures of each lot. You got them? Can we put them up?
No, I didn't put them up there, included in the package.
I mean, with this being on YouTube in the future, if we can have these things where it can go up on the board, on that beautiful projector, or that, what would you call it, Madam Chair? So the public and the people that's watching can see what would be going on Wasita, just potentially what could go there. And Madam Chair, I will say I know someone who actually pre-purchased a house and put it on a property on Pickens, a lot that was just dead. Now it's on the tax roll. Now it's a water customer. Now that snaggletooth housing is gone. So I do know that can happen. But it's just, how much do we want to get ankle, knee, or neck deep in real estate? You see what I'm saying? So that's where I think we would have to weigh on how much are we going to bite off. If one or two can be used where things we know will benefit, fine. And what I've cited, I can see that, but I don't know about these other properties, and I don't know if it's nearsighted or farsighted.
The The reason why Cedar was on there, if you look on the drawings that are on the back, you'll notice that there are two right together, next to each other, and they're right next to the street. And that, and the rest of the neighborhood, you've got homes that are around there. I think that would be one of the easier areas to get someone to come in and build homes on those properties together like that. You'll find on some of the others, we're looking to buy a lot that's in between two or three that the city already owns, that gives you a larger area. If we are no longer interested in doing this, I won't, after this, pursue it any further. But I've already asked the treasurer that we would take these. As a matter of fact, today, two of them that were on the top of that list, people went into court and the prices went up on them, and we had them take those off. But that was a deadline that we had for them.
Madam Chair.
Just lastly, so that is that property on Fair, I can see, that is that parcel there on the corner. So, I mean, from what I can see, that parcel and the two parcels at Broadway would be, I think, from what I can see of what you presented, the most handsome properties on this list. For us, that I think would bring the most immediate benefit for what you've explained.
And if I might add, if you want, I can show you tomorrow an additional $30,000 that is not in the budget that we will have available to us.
Per,
So, that's part of your presentation now, where you showing, as the gentlelady from the Third Ward mentioned, where's the money coming from, and I'm all for, and I agree, Madam Chair, that we can't, out of our current circumstance, it's like I'm not my circumstance, right? Because tomorrow will be different.
yeah.
However, I must consider my current circumstance. You see what I'm saying? So, in that consideration, if there's $30,000 that's coming, it would be good to know what it is and when it will be here, and that could be your explanation to the question of how it will be paid for. But even with that, if we have 30,000 unexpected, which this happens, then maybe if we only spent 3,000, and have 27,000 more to add, I would just say that on this list, we should only purchase the most valuable and best parcels that will bring the best use and immediate. But, again, I do, Mr. Manager, agree that in order to make money, which we need revenue, you have to spend money. Yes. But I think that right now, given that our money is very limited, we have to be very wise in what we spend it on, Madam Chair. I rest.
Per pro tem seats stated that he would like to see this come through planning and economic development. That's like a couple of weeks away, and this auction is coming up. So I don't think he is aware of that. But he also says that he wanted to thank the mayor. And anything that we don't need, we probably need to be giving back. And anything by water is gold. I want to, he's doing a whole lot of talking, but I'd like to just add this for listening ears. For years, leading up to just last year, when the law changed within the Brownfield Authority Board Act, this was part of the plan, well, at least Mary Alice's plan. But it can work, and it can come together, because now the Brownfield Authority has the authority to actually do some development. So in that being an arm of the city, we can work together to get some job training going on with some of our youth, with some of those that have a structured home, and yeah, I mean, just thinking outside of the box to how we can make this work together to build on our tax base and to get some of our young people trained with the hopes that they just want to go to sleep at night instead of firing guns and shooting firecrackers when other folks are asleep, got to get up and go to work. I mean, I'm solution driven.
There already, and she asked me to, did the city want them or not? And this started off, there was about 30 properties. I did just exactly what the mayor just said to get to where we are. Sifted through them in terms of the ones that had the highest potential to benefit the city of Benton Harbor, and wound up with what you got, which is a very small number. But whatever is the pleasure of the commission. Now, as a matter of fact, those came to the Economic Development Committee meeting last week.
Okay.
And in
yeah.
fact, at that time, it was 12 of them.
Yeah. He did, if I may, Madam Chair, city manager did a small brochure, and that right there is one of the positive aspects of trying to allure development. But there's a presentation coming to the city of Benton Harbor, for the city of Benton Harbor, to hopefully run up and down the corridor of each end of the state and in between to try to attract some developers. But there's some things going on that will allow us, especially the Brownfield, to actually do some purchasing of some homes that can just be sit. And we have the money available to actually lay the foundation of a $60,000 home that we can probably sell for double the amount to add to our tax base, a water customer. I mean, hey.
Madam Chair, just quickly, the say at 30,000, can the manager?
We just made an agreement with AT&T where we've been paying $2,100. Do you recall, Madam Clerk, what that figure is? Like $2,100 and something a month that we're going to go to $175 for the same, which is going to save just about $2,000 a month for the next 12 months. That's immediate available to you. In addition, there were 4 other that we were not that high, but I can't remember the exact number, but we'll be saving at least another $10,000 to $12,000 on those. In addition to that, been negotiating with the insurance that we're been dealing with to try to get the price down. As you suggested, we went to, we were going to go to 50,000 deductible, but the difference between the 50,000 and the 25,000 was only $5,000, so we went to the 25,000 deductible, which is going to save us in the neighborhood of over 20,000 right there.
And that report will come to the Personnel Finance, Madam Chair, those savings.
Thank you. I just want to remind us that we do have a moratorium. And the mayor said that we didn't do anything special for Superintendent Butts, but we did. We sold him a house and had a moratorium on it. Now we're gonna sell it again with a moratorium on it? So I just want you to hear that there is a moratorium, and we did break the, we did change the rules to sell that house to him, because he was new in town and he was a new superintendent. So now, are we gonna do the same thing for whoever it is that wanna buy this house? Absolutely. This moratorium been on for 2 years at least.
The purpose of the moratorium was to try and improve the city's situation in terms of how these properties are being handled, with the ultimate goal of getting homes back on the tax rolls and owner occupied, as opposed to winding up being in Section 8. And this served our purpose. As a matter of fact, I would like to have, but have just held up to wait, done something similar with that house on Pavone that we spent all that money on, and people have stripped out the windows and everything else. We've had a couple of people inquire about trying to buy that house.
And
And
can they
to
buy
get
it
it
with a
put back on the
moratorium on it?
rolls.
Can they
And
buy it with a moratorium on it?
Well, here again,
How many people have come to me and said, I want to buy, I want to do, and I tell them exactly what I know, that there's a moratorium on it, and the answer is no until we pull the moratorium off. The answer is no. That's what you've told
but one of
everybody
the
else
things,
except.
no, you're missing something. One of the things I've said to everybody from the beginning, if you're ready to build a house on one of these properties that you're interested in, we're interested in having it done. The only thing is, we won't just sell a property betting on the come. We'll make it conditional when you do certain things, then it gets turned over to you.
That solves some of the problem, but I'm still looking at a moratorium, and I'm still looking at special treatment that we gave Superintendent Butts. Now we're gonna allow the house to be sold again. Everyone, and that's the case, take the moratorium off and everybody get a chance to use whatever they have to buy by our agreement. Our agreement is not to just sit on it anymore.
Once again, anybody you know that wants to build a home and have the wherewithal to do it, if they're interested in one of these lots, we can put together a limited transaction that it doesn't transfer to them until that's built, and make it available.
Well,
Just to turn a bunch of properties over to people to wind up sitting and growing weeds for us to cut, that doesn't make any sense.
okay, that answers my question. Thank you, Chair.
May I be dismissed, Chair?
I have one, and that is this, that, you know, I know you've all seen the effort that I put into trying to help bring the city back. And that happens by virtue of not just one thing, but a number of things, a lot of planning, and then careful execution. I think you see some significant differences in this city. I mean, I've only been back here 48 months. Corner of Wall Street is under construction over there. Discussion with Project T yesterday, if we get to them the certification of the last site plan, they're talking about doing a ribbon cutting within the next 3 weeks to get that going. You see the new basketball courts getting under construction up in Hall Park. You see us getting ready to do $1.5 million worth of work on the Bobo Brazil Center. The efforts that Whirlpool has made with Martin Park, with Yarborough Park, Union, with Jim Woods Park, all over the city. We've got, I mean, fitness center was going on 2 years before I got here. We got the fitness center going now. We've got a gentleman in the building right next to it working on putting in a cigar shop, and he's wanting to have a liquor license. We've got things going, Clement is coming in, bought 7 buildings and spending money on helping to put downtown together. Last week, Mr. Hahn was here with the support of the people that were here from Clement, Harbor Shores, the gentleman, Ken Ankler, supporting, donating, or giving money to help clean up, build up, and support downtown. Ox Creek has moved a long way from where it started. When I came back here, Ox Creek, nobody's even talking about it. Now we've got about $12 million ready to start developing. I'd like to just use those things to suggest that I know what I'm doing. And I know what I'm doing when it comes to housing and so forth. But I'm not going to continue to spend my Saturdays and Sundays and nights working on stuff. And, I mean, if we're going to do it as a committee, then fine, let's do that. But I don't need to do all this stuff first, put all my time into it, and we're suddenly, everybody wants to second guess it. I'm just being honest with you.
Thinking about that, I think it's our job is to make sure if we don't have money, then we need to know where the money's gonna be, how things are gonna be paid for, and I think that's what you're hearing, that part of it. And I think we have a responsibility to do that. And so that's what we're doing, the part that we're supposed to be doing, which is the checks and balances.
I agree.
So I think that's what you see, not disagreeing with what you've done and how far the city's, because we appreciate it, and the stuff that's happening is wonderful. But I think we're doing the part that we're supposed to be doing.
And I agree, but I wouldn't lie to you about the money, because if I do, it's going to come home to roost at the end of the process, at the end of the year. I have no reason to lie to you about the money.
But transparency is the key to democratic process. Transparency. Mr. Little, transparency is the key to democratic initiative system. So as you share that information and we feel comfortable with your character and you're not lying, but you got to share it first. And then we're like, oh yeah, that works fine.
Thank you.
That's where's the money coming from?
Yeah. So thank you.
It was like
We
pulling
need to
teeth.
adjourn this meeting, so thank you. Yes, move the item forward. Thank you.